Right now, your phone has 47 apps. Your TV has 10,000 shows. There's a podcast for literally every thought a human has ever had. And somehow you're still bored. So let's ask a question nobody thinks to ask. What did ancient humans do when they were bored? Not medieval peasants, not the Romans, not even the Egyptians. Let's go back 100,000 years, 200,000 years, before writing, art, music, or modern language. Just a human, sitting in the dirt, with absolutely nothing to do. The answer to that question changes everything we think we know about creativity, religion, and why your brain is wired the way it is. But first, did boredom even exist back then? For decades, researchers assumed our ancestors were too busy surviving to get bored. Every waking hour was a fight to find food and build shelter. But in 1966, anthropologist Marshall Salins proved that assumption completely wrong. After studying the Kung people of the Kalahari Desert, some of the last humans living a lifestyle close to our ancestors, he found they worked an average of just 15 to 20 hours a week. The rest of the time, they just sat, they rested, they did nothing. Solins called them the original affluent society. They didn't have wealth, they had time. More free time than you probably have right now, so they definitely got bored. What happened next? They played, and it wasn't simple. In 2010, archaeologists studied shells found in South Africa's Blombos cave. They were 75,000 years old, pierced with holes, and covered in red ochre. They weren't tools, they weren't food, they were jewelry. Someone sat down 75 millennia ago with nothing better to do and made beads. Drilling a hole through a shell with a stone tool takes hours, maybe days. They did it anyway because the alternative was staring at a cave wall. Necessity didn't invent art. Boredom did. The same thing happened with music. In 2008, researchers found a flute made from a vulture bone in a German cave. It was 40,000 years old. Someone sat down before agriculture, before cities, and invented music. Not because they had to, but because they had a free afternoon and a bird bone. Neuroscientist Daniel Levitin argues that musical ability is actually older than language. Our brains were wired for rhythm before we could form sentences, because pattern recognition kept us alive. But boredom didn't just invent art and music, it invented imagination. Think about it. You cannot be bored without a concept of time. To be bored, you have to realize this moment is dragging on. You have to realize the future exists, and it could be better than right now. Boredom is the first proof that a brain has developed the ability to imagine things that aren't real. A dog waiting for its owner isn't bored. It's just waiting. But a human sitting by a fire 100,000 years ago starts to wonder, what if the hunt goes wrong tomorrow? What's beyond that mountain? Where do we go when we die? Every question religion has ever asked, every question philosophy or science has tried to answer. They all started the same way. Someone was bored and their mind wandered. In 2013, psychologist Sandy Mann proved this. She made people copy numbers from a phone book, literally the most boring task imaginable, and then tested their creativity. The bored group dramatically outperformed the control group. Boredom forces the brain to generate its own stimulation, and finally, when ancient humans got bored, they talked. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar, famous for discovering that human social groups cap out at around 150 people, found that roughly 65% of all human conversation is just gossip. It sounds like a waste of time, but it isn't. Dunbar argues language didn't evolve so we could coordinate hunts. It evolved because we were sitting around with nothing to do. Before language, primates bonded by grooming each other, one at a time. Language replaced grooming. You could groom 3 people, 10 people, a whole fire pit at once. You could build trust with people you'd never touched. Boredom invented gossip, and gossip invented society. So here's where we are. 75,000 years ago, boredom made a bead. 40,000 years ago, it made a flute. Somewhere in between, staring at the stars, it made religion, science, and art. Modern psychology has a term for what happens when you eliminate boredom completely: cognitive overload. When every second is stimulated by a screen, your brain never gets to do what it was built to do in the quiet moments. The default mode network, the part of your brain responsible for creativity, self-reflection, and empathy, only turns on when you are doing absolutely nothing. We spent 300,000 years learning to fill silence with something meaningful. Then we invented the smartphone, and we've been panic-filling the silence ever since. But every time you put the phone down and let your mind wander, you're doing the exact same thing the person in that cave was doing. You're doing the thing that made us human. Boredom isn't a bug in your brain. It's the feature. And if you let it, it still works.